Hey y'all. The philosophical concept that I gravitated to almost immediately was that of self. There was a passage in our textbook that sparked this idea when Locke was responding to Descartes' mind body proposal. He gave the example of cutting off a hand, pointing out that it was no longer part of the body, and in a way, lost memories could be seen as part of our thinking selves severed from our consciousness. I had this image of in Harry Potter when Dumbledore pulls the memories out of his head, and there goes a wisp of consciousness out on its own, doing its own thing. Us, but no longer us. Anyway, I'm not sure that's what Locke was saying, but that's where I went, and that's what got me here. His Dark Materials is a trilogy by Philip Pullman. He was partly inspired by this painting by Da Vinci and this little line from a William Blake poem called Europe, a Prophecy. There is a ton of philosophical stuff to talk about in those books, but I tried to narrow it down to just a part of a topic. So you might get a pretty incomplete picture of what the books are really about. I will say it's a story about this mysterious stuff called dust and a girl who is prophesied to save the world or the multiverse or whatever. Anyway, it starts off set in a parallel world to ours that actually has demons, which are a kind of spirit animal that represent their souls living separately outside in animal bodies. There are so many cool things we could talk about with these demons, but we don't have time for all that. So the point of the paper is that these demons are being forcibly separated from their people, causing all kinds of problems. And that reminded me of some other stuff I read, and I was pretty excited to put this stuff together. Descartes kicks us off by thinking a lot and establishing mind-body dualism. Carl Jung shows up about 300 years later, and I skipped a bunch of guys because time, and talked about the anima being part of the male, part of a woman's subconscious, and animus, female part of men, that are a priori and influence all kinds of things about us. He also gave us collective unconsciousness, which comes from forever ago and is within all people, although we don't recognize it, like it's like instinct. And Philip Goff comes along like now ago and brings back an old philosophical theory called panpsychism, which basically says that every material iota everywhere contains a form of consciousness, proto-consciousness, another force like of matter, like gravity. Anyway, something we don't know yet, but it's cool. Dust is a big part of his Dark Materials. It doesn't really represent the universal consciousness of like panpsychism, but almost. It is in all aspects of consciousness in Pullman's world, and it's released when a demon is forcibly removed from a person. It also seems to be what spirits are made from, and Lyra, our heroine from the stories, helps some spirits escape an afterlife trap, and they become part of the natural world again. It's pretty cool stuff. I have included a couple real world examples of severed souls. Dr. Eben Alexander is a neurosurgeon who used to be a staunch materialist. It kind of comes with the territory of being a brain surgeon. He was put in a medically induced coma after he contracted bacterial meningitis, and he ended up tripping with a near-death out-of-body experience. And he now believes that the soul is separate from the body and eternal. Dave Grossman started his own ology, Killology, and he talks about the way soldiers are harmed when they kill other people. Their psyche can't handle this sort of cognitive dissonance between their natural aversion to killing and the conditioning that the military gives them, enabling them to do these Pavlovian things without thinking until it hits them later and they end up with PTSD. It's as if killing another person kills off a piece of them. It's actually a fascinating read. Both of them are in my bibliography, so check them out online. So in his Dark Materials, there are characters who are able to separate from their demons without dying. Witches and shamans are trained in these super secret special ways, kind of like they're trying to condition soldiers in our world. Lyra has to separate from her demon Pan when she goes to save the people in the afterlife. She does okay, but like our soldiers, it's painful and they never really have the same relationship when they get back together. We're out of time. So to wrap all this up, I'm actually just going to read from my paper. Spoilers. The body that we can feel and see and study is only part of the vital, life-sustaining material required to maintain us as fully functioning and thriving sentient beings. A fissure in any part of our body, soul, spirit, fabric results in damage that may be permanent if not fatal. Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials offers a vivid envisioning of what it is like when our selves are fractured. Understanding how intricate our identities are, we can better relate to one another with empathy. We might be damaged below the surface, but that's an aspect of each one of us that is connected in some way to all others. Amongst the many deep themes within these works, the lives of the characters demonstrate how a person may lose their sense of self, their sense of purpose, their very identity, and the body remains spiritually malnourished, ultimately succumbing to despair when the spirit is severed from the soul. So that's it, the end. I hope you'll visit my website. I added lots of interesting stuff on there so that you can dive a little bit deeper. Oh, and that's Philip Pullman, the author, interesting dude. And yeah, all the books are on my website as well, so check it out. Okay, thanks. Why am I still on here?